Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Jens, founder of Childcare Biz Help. At Childcare Biz Help, we offer business solutions to childcare centers nationwide, helping them become more profitable by increasing enrollments and retaining their staff. And today, we're going to discuss a winning strategy that's going to bring new energy to your school. I think many of us would agree that childcare has had a sort of hazy fog covering it these last couple of years. We're seeing employees burnt out, not as engaged, and even, if we can be honest, not as loyal. It's time that we remove that fog and re-energize every aspect of our childcare centers. And in this session, I'm going to bring new light to what your employees need in order to keep them connected, engaged, and anchored to your company. It's a guaranteed winning strategy that's going to bring new energy to your school, ultimately helping you retain your staff. Did you know that only 22% of organizations have a strategy on how to attract, engage, and retain their team? Only 22%. So let's dive into that strategy. What does that look like? So we're going to focus on 5 areas that your employees need in order to keep them energized and engaged. These 5 areas are activating their voice, building community, mentorship, mental health, and leadership development. So we're going to touch on all 5 of these areas. So activating the voice of your employee, what does that mean? Well, activating their voice gives the employees meaning behind their work. When employees' voices are heard and respected, we learn what makes them want to work in our companies and actually what drives them to work harder. When we listen to our employees, they're going to tell us the areas of our organization that are working both really well and areas that we may need improvement in. They can tell us the type of work experience that they want and what motivates them. But we have to listen and respect what they have to say. Unfortunately, most companies aren't listening to their employees. They're spending all their energy refining areas of their programs that maybe aren't as high on the employee's wish list. As you can see by this chart, on the left is what is motivating today's employee. On the right is what companies are actually focusing on. So if we look at what employees are desiring, they want their voice at the very top to be respected and heard. That's at the top of their wish list. And that's above pay. So pay is secondary. And then comes creativity, benefits, and flexibility. Now, if we look on the right side, what companies are actually focusing on, they're focusing their time and energy on creating these benefit programs. And then pay, promotion, flexibility, and at the very bottom is listening to the voice of their employee. So we have it completely backwards in our organizations. Employees who feel heard and respected are going to be more energized to come into work. They're going to be more energized to engage in helping move the company forward. If we're not listening to our employees' needs, we're going to find that they're going to move on to other companies. Now, secondly, building community. Your staff wants a sense of community. It's very important to them. Employee engagement is completely contingent on a community of purpose that is built within your organization. Employees want to know that they're a part of a larger purpose and that they personally align with what the company's intentions are. So how can we build community in our organizations? Well, we need to ask them, right? So we talked about activating the voice of our employee. We need to ask our employees where their passions are. And community is defined by activating that voice of your employee. They may want a company that is active on the mental health issues. Maybe they're concerned about the environment. Maybe they're really passionate about a homeless situation. When you find out what social issues your staff are passionate about, you can determine of those areas of passion what aligns with your company values. And then you can establish ways that your company can participate in those causes and support them. That could be a percentage of your revenue. It could be feeding the homeless on the weekends, food drives, those types of examples. How is your company going to participate in those community type areas of passion? And I want to encourage you to look at Peloton, the workout bike. They have a really great example of ways that they incorporate community into their brand. And at Peloton, here's a quote from their website. At Peloton, we've always been more than a fitness brand. We're a platform that fosters connection and motivates millions of members to grow stronger together every day. And if you go onto their website and research them a little more, you're going to see many other areas that they incorporate the voice of their employee behind the social issues that they're attempting to work together on. Now, the third item that employees want is mentorship. 81% of employees state that mentorship is essential to their growth and success. And here is a very interesting statistic. So even though 81% of employees want mentorship and believe that it is critical to their growth and success, 94% of companies say they do not have a mentorship program or a mentorship structure. 94% do not. Now, some things that we found are really interesting about the type of mentorship programs that employees want is it's not just about mentoring on a one-on-one anymore, but they're looking for the small group type mentorships. Small group mentorships allow for people to gather and talk about their pains with their peers, because honestly, that's something they really long for. It allows them time to talk about subject matters that matter to them on topics that they might feel isolated in. And people that are in mentorship groups are going to stay with companies for long periods of time because of that community that is being built within those groups. Companies that have successful recruitment practices are ones that brag about their mentorship programs. When you do that well, you don't even have to talk about pay, because instead, if you talk about your mentorship program and what your employees are experiencing in those groups, pay is going to be secondary on that wish list. And here's even an idea when you bring on a new hire to your organization. Consider hiring them as a mentee for their first year. I can guarantee that if someone has a mentorship group that they're immediately injected into, they're not going to feel isolated, and they're going to immediately learn about the culture and start building those really critical friendships. Our fourth area that employees want is really this mental health issue that we're experiencing in our country. I mean, it's definitely a subject that we need to pay attention to, and your employees want you to pay attention to it. Employees want an organization that's empathetic to mental health issues. It's important to them because just if we look at millennials alone, which is a big portion of who you are in terms of staffing, 77% of them suffer from mental health issues. 17% feel hopeless about life, and 15% have even considered suicide. So as you can see here, mental health is something that we can't just brush aside and not pay attention to. Our staff needs us to give this some attention. We have to put a proactive mental health strategy in place. And companies that are able to develop a proactive mental health strategy will retain their staff. And I'm going to give you a really fun idea that we heard in a training that we recently went to, is that companies that require employees to take mental health days are going to definitely stand out in comparison to their competition. If an employee is suffering from anxiety or mental health on a specific day and need to take off, pay them, in addition to their salary, pay them $250 that they have to use on that day that they take off for a mental health issue, and make them go do wellness activities. Go to the spa, get their nails done, start a new gym membership, and then they have to turn in their receipts the next day showing how they use that $250. So what that tells the employee is that your company places this really special emphasis on making sure that employees are dealing with their mental health in an appropriate way. So instead of staying home under the covers, you're forcing them outside the home to do things that are going to help their mental state get better. You could even offer support groups or even a certain amount of counseling sessions a year. Whatever you decide for your how you're going to approach mental health with your staff, you have to do a proactive strategy that is really intentional versus just going with the flow and hoping that these mental health issues just disappear. The final area that your employees want from a company is leadership development. 73% of employees want to be developed into leaders. But most companies would rather hire from the outside than develop leaders from within. And I know it can sometimes seem a lot harder to develop your staff versus hiring from the outside. There's that whole period of transitioning from a regular employee to a potential leader. It takes a lot of mentorship and intentionality, but our employees want that development. Some ways that you can develop leaders are by creating career paths. Career paths are great because it will easily lay out how employees can advance throughout your company and allow employees to see, well, I don't have to just be a teacher. I could potentially be an administrative assistant. I can help with enrollment specialties. I can maybe do some marketing strategies. So having those career paths laid out so that employees can say, if I'm interested in potentially becoming an enrollment specialist, what do I need to do in order to grow into that position? So career paths are a really great way to do that. Investing now, even if you don't have a position available at the time for a specific employee to advance into, still invest in your staff and develop them now. Yes, they may leave your organization after you've spent a lot of time and invested in them, but that's okay. You're going to use them in the season that you have them. And when you do invest in them, when you are developing them, they are going to be so dedicated and they're going to be engaged in your company. Employees can be a leader of their area, right? So I can be a teacher and I can be empowered to lead my classroom. But if I don't have that leadership development, I may not know how to lead my classroom. Empower your float and part-time staff to be leaders on how to allocate their time, on how to influence the areas that they support. So even if I'm a float staff or a part-time staff, I can have some leadership development. Consider investing in employees that want to eventually run their own school. Don't be afraid that you're going to train them up on how to run their own company. That's a good thing. Again, as we invest in our employees, they're going to be more dedicated while they're with you, and they're going to stay with you longer. We need to really just create a culture of developing leaders in our schools. So as we get focused to this winning strategy, these 5 areas, activating the voice, building community, creating these mentorship programs, addressing mental health, and developing leaders in our organization. As we are focused on being intentional in these 5 areas, I can guarantee that you're going to have a different energy in your organization, and you're going to see employees engaging at a level that we haven't seen employees engage in for a while now. I hope you found this information useful, and I want to encourage you to go empower your employees, go develop your leaders, listen to what they have to say, and be energized. Thank you, everyone. It was nice being here with you.